What's going on? Raven Ritual 666 back from the dead with some more Diablo 4 content, and today I want to bring to you one of the best ways for speed leveling going to Season 8, the return of Belial. So for those of you who know, Season 8 is launching this week, and I'm very excited to test some builds with these new iconic boss powers. So there's a little bit you're going to want to know to where to first target your energies when starting in Season 8. So Firewall is going to be one of the best builds for leveling to 1 to 60. The reason being, it is very cheap to set up. You only need a few aspects to get you going, and the build works perfectly without them. So going into Season 8, the economy is going to change when it comes to leveling. The progression has been slowed down a bit more, which means it's going to take you a bit longer. And unlike in Season 7, we don't have the Witch Tide events anymore. So we don't have those hunts, which means you just can't get like all those legendaries, all those aspects very early, and they're going to be a little bit more scarce to drop. So make sure when you are in Sanctuary in Season 8, you keep an eye especially on your rare items, as they are going to drop with the third affix, which makes them a lot more powerful again. Now, this is pretty much straightforward, a Firewall and Hydra setup, as you can see here. Cast a couple of Firewalls, use your Hydras, and we use Constellation for that big, chunky, single damage hits. It's just very nice for leveling. You may not get all these aspects to drop, but this build is still going to work absolutely perfectly. Now, why are fire builds some of the best for leveling? Cheap on mana, really good damage. Damage over time does amazingly well early, and overall, you've just got survivability from killing burning enemies, mana regeneration, and just overall really good damage without needing a perfect build. Now, there are two builds that I think are going to perform the best for leveling. I've been testing on current live servers, as you can see here. It's definitely Firewall. Firewall's got a bit more movement speed. You can move around the map much faster because you can lay down the damage and keep moving on. But also Incinerate. Incinerate is going to be stronger, especially from going T1 into T4 into the end game, just because you've got more aspects, you can get more damage. So for a level 60 in a perfect setup, I think Incinerate is stronger. However, Firewall is just much quicker on your feet because you can attack and just keep moving. So I will post another YouTube video and another Mobalytics guide regarding Incinerate, like fire turret build. But yeah, please, if you're liking the content, subscribe below and check out the build guide in the link in the description below. I've got from level 1 to 35, level 35 to 60, and then, you know, your Torment and into your whole Paragon board. So yeah, look forward to seeing you all in Sanctuary, but let's take a look at some of the gear about, you know, why we set this build up. So, before I go through all of the gear, I just wanted to show you that I've been testing this on Season 7 live, which yes, the progression is faster, but also in the PTR I leveled from 1 to 60 using the new boss powers. So for testing and this build's sake, I didn't use any of the witch powers just because they were way too strong, just like our boss powers. So when you do start in Season 8 live, you're going to look for one of these new events. They're like the Apparition bosses. They're a world event. Now you can kill some of these apparitions that are going to give you your first boss powers. Now, when you start on Season 8, you want to do that. Follow that quest line and at least do one or two of those apparitions early on, so you can start getting some of those boss power modifiers. But also, as a lot of you seasoned Diablo people know, when you start, we got no materials. We're back to absolute square one. So when you are leveling, you gotta use what gear that you find. So I just wanted to show you that I'm using nothing that is perfect to my 35 to 60 build, just skills that I've found because it is expensive to craft early. The only thing you really want to craft your aspects onto is your amulet, your 2 rings. I got very lucky that I found an early Tau Rashes, but this build works perfectly with that one. It's the only unique you would really put into place while leveling that is going to make a bit of a difference when it comes to your power. So I can put Constellation onto my amulet, I will put Engulfing Flames onto my ring, and Creeping Death on my gloves. And I did get all of these to drop as wall drops. I was only using what I found. Otherwise, just use what is somewhat decent, right? Hey, I've got some movement speed from moving away from chilled enemies. Alright, I'll put that on my boots. Movement speed's nice. Oh, I do use Ice Armor and it grants me Unstoppable. Snow Veil is a very strong aspect. Let's put that on. Again, even Mind's Awakening. It's not something I would normally use, but since we're using a lot of Pyromancy skills, we get a lot of Immobilize. It's kind of nice to have in spot. So yeah, don't put any aspects onto your staff. Now, always use a 2-handed staff because the passive on it is damage over time, and we're doing a damage over time build, so staff is best in slot over a sword and a focus. However, let's say you got a Conceited and a Stormswell on a Focus and a Sword. Well, probably use that until it's outdated and then break them down for those aspects. So yeah, the reason you don't keep putting aspects elsewhere is because if it gets too expensive to craft and then you can't craft anymore. So leveling, and it's all over here in the Mobalytics guide, where I show you what is in the perfect world that you would want, as well as skill points. So let's take a little bit of a look, shall we? So having a look at my Season 8 Firewall speed leveling. Firstly, you're going to start with Firewall. Firewall is the first skill that we are going to want to run. And then we're going to start with Firebolt. However, after Firebolt, and once we get to our ultimate, you want to change that out with Inferno. So you'll see here in the level 35 to 60 build guide. We use Flame Shield just for those little sticky moments if we don't have enough healing, as well as for crowd control. It's just so nice to break through crowd control, keeping Flame Shield in your pocket. Hydras do a good source of damage. Teleport for our movement. After a teleport, we'll always cast a Shock Familiar so we can get the second Constellation proc. It's very tempting to swap out Flame Shield and use Ice Armor so we can get the third Constellation proc. I just always feel much more comfortable having Flame Shield, as it is, just going to prevent us from dying when we are pushing through into Penitent. While you're early, these are the 4 aspects that you will be looking out for. Constellation, Serpentine so you get an extra Hydra, Engulfing Flames and Creeping Death. Even if you just get Creeping Death or just Engulfing Flames, use whatever else you can find. And I have a lot of other aspects that you're keeping an eye for, from Conceited, Stormswell, Undying is nice, Firestarter for a little bit more damage, Orange Herald for your boots, Concussive Strikes, so it's all there. And your stat priorities is Intelligence and Damage over time. For runes, I always just run Chem and Ton, just getting those free Meteorites as an extra source of burning damage. It's really nice. Every time you evade, you get free Meteorites, so you get a bit of damage from evade. Now, I will put a clip in here, but the boss power I've chosen to use that you can then acquire. So once you've done the apparitions, so you can get Cinerat's Flames, which will help with our damage by different elements. It'll also help us scale some poison damage, which we can't normally do as Sorcerer. Now, why do we want to scale poison damage? Well, the main boss power we're going to use is Ashava's Poison Breath. I use this on the PTR, and it was already doing a lot of damage. I mean, more damage than my Firewall. And I'll put in a clip at the end of this, just so you can show you. It's also so much fun. Ashava's Breath just, farts out some poison gas, and then demons die. So it's really nice to have. We want Kerma's Sparks just to increase our evade cooldown, which means we can keep casting more of those Meteorites, which is another source of damage. And then Beastmasters. We want to scale the damage of our Hydras. So for your gems, you can see I didn't even equip them yet. All I did was put in 2 runes. I haven't even put any gems. But put Sapphires into your weapon for more damage over time. Topaz in the rest of your gear, just for intelligence. And then whatever you need, whether it's resistance or skulls in your rings and amulet. So yeah, got a bit about the gameplay loop, how it all works. That's kind of what you're going to craft, 1 to 35. 35 to 60. The enchantments, by the way, we use Firewall. The amount of times a Firewall will cast bonus Firewalls, and then Fireball is just really, really nice to have. It's just really quick for those AoE clears and just speeds it up. I think in that video before that I pre-recorded, I was using the Firebolt enchantment, which I find was better for single target, but Fireball is just better for clearing through Helltides and speed leveling. But we go Undying. We don't really need more health regen, but it's nice to have, especially for single target. So I always put that in there. Disobedience is nice to get the armor when you're trying to push to T1. Creeping Death we put on the gloves. It's really nice with our damage over time. Concussive Strikes. Orange Herald to reduce our ultimate or our Inferno, because that's the only way we can really get vulnerable. Unless you find something that's got lucky hit chance to apply vulnerable, wouldn't be bad on your amulet or your gloves, or even a potential ring. So keep an eye out for lucky hit chance to apply vulnerable. It's actually kind of good to have as well. And then Constellation, eventually you'd put on the 2-handed weapon once you're level 60. And then put Engulfing Flames onto your amulet. But just keep swapping out with whatever you find. As soon as you've got another staff that's got more int and more base damage, swap to that while you're leveling. But then, yeah, complete endgame. We do have, you'd run Shaco, Shroud of False Death. and that would be best in slot along with Tau Rasher, and that's the kind of Mythics or Unix that you would run. But this build is not great for Torment to Torment 4, right? It'll get you to T1 pretty fast, so you can kill those bosses and find the gear you're looking for. I've got the skill tree in here as well, like including the entire leveling path, so feel free to bring this up. You can turn on the leveling path. I've got step-by-step of what skill to do at what period of time, as well as our mercenaries. So don't forget to equip your mercenaries, because once you level up Subo as your main, you can get an extra 30% increase from damage over time, and more Molotov cocktails from him, so it's very nice to have. In my final build, I do have a Paragon set up. If you really do want to take this into the Torment modes, because you love this build so much, I have a full step-by-step around how to increase our damage. But overall, yeah, this is going to be one of the best ways to level in Season 8. Check out the Mobalytics guide below. Please don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button. I'll finish this video with a little clip of me using the Ashava's Breath. So that is going to be your priority. It's going to be easy for you to get from killing the world boss, so keep a lookout for Ashava. If you can get an early Ashava kill, and you can put on Ashava's Breath, it is going to carry you really quickly with this firewall speed leveling build for Season 8. Well, thank you all for being here. Keep an eye out. I've got my Incinerate leveling build for Season 8 coming out too, with some different changes, some of their boss powers. Again, it's going to be very easy for you to access early, but it will be very strong going to the Torment scaling. I'll see you all on the next one. Right? Oh, he farted forwards. That's good. Oh, he farted behind him! Look at that! This boss power is just gas, man. Look at that! Just farting! He farts so much! It's so much fun!